How do we know God loves us? This is surely a difficult question for anyone to ask in our suffering world. Our timeless reminder is the rainbow. With all its splendor, vibrancy, and mystery, the rainbow reminds us of God's unconditional love to us. And how is a rainbow made? By the refracting of sunlight through rain droplets. Despite our suffering, the evil in the world, despite the evil all of us commit and meditate on, God has promised to be merciful, patient, and slow to anger. The word rainbow in its original Hebrew context meant my bow. Genesis 9:13 says, I have set my bow in the clouds, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Today, our culture has changed and perverted the rainbow's meaning to say that it's actually about pride or a spectrum of sexuality. But God shows us that it's Him hanging up His weapon of war as an unconditional act of love and mercy toward mankind. The rainbow, both beautiful and powerful. Even if you go your entire life without seeing one, the symbolism is unparalleled. Our God made a weapon of war into a sign of love for mankind. The beauty of the sun is that you don't have to be able to know its light. The beauty of the sun is that you don't have to be able to see to know its light is shining on you. Even if you're blind or don't have eyes, as humans, we can feel the warmth of the sun on our skin, and if we enjoy it for too long, feel its burn. The sun's light in all its power affects those who can and cannot see. If the sun's light in all its power affects those who can and cannot see, how much more can the light of Jesus affect our hearts? John Newton reflected on this power all the way back in 1779, writing, The earth shall soon dissolve like snow, the sun forbear to shine, but God, who called me here below, will be forever mine. How does the beauty of light affect those seeing and blind? How might we know God loves us through our eyes? Makoto Fujimura writes, Again, there is a difference between seeing and seeing through the eye. What is the difference? Someday, machine technology will perhaps simulate seeing with the eye. But seeing through the eye is to envision the essence of our being. To see the future states within and through reality in front of us. Every enduring artwork, in some ways, captures the future orientation of the world that is becoming. Every work that captures truth sees through the mask we wear, and the facade of the walls that limits us to our scarcity mindset of zero-sum gain, into a world of reality breaking into our every moment. In a sense, our eyes can be the gateway to the present, but our spiritual eyes are the gateway to the past, present, and future. If we ask God, He might give us the eyes to see. Jesus says in Matthew 13, This is why I speak to them in parables. Though seeing, they do not see. Though hearing, they do not hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing, but never understand. You will be ever seeing, but never perceive. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts. In turn, I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. Our prayer with this podcast is that God would give us eyes to see and the ears to hear the things He would have us experience and know. The Beholding Beauty podcast seeks to find extraordinary beauty in ordinary places. This episode of Beholding Beauty podcast is brought to you by 633 Collective, a network of Christian artists and patrons who seek to bring beauty in every art form for the glory of God. Learn more at 633collective.com. And if you like what we do here at Beholding Beauty, please consider financially supporting us at patreon.com/633collective. Check out our tiers, toss a few bucks, and enjoy behind the scenes content, bonus episodes, and early access seasons. Join now at patreon.com/633collective. Hey.
You want to introduce this time?
Sure. Yeah. All right, and clap.
Yeah, you can do that.
Well, hello, Carl.
Hey, Jake.
And listener. So this is the Beholding Beauty podcast, where we seek to find extraordinary things in the ordinary. Did I say that right?
Extraordinary beauty in ordinary places.
Extraordinary beauty in ordinary places. And today we're talking about light and sight and how we can find the beauty in things that we see with our eyes. And you wanted to tell a story about the mantis shrimp.
Oh, you want to start us off with that?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think our main goal of this episode is that what you look at is places you can discover beauty, whether it's visual art or wherever. We'll have an episode on the oceans, but like getting caught up in the tapestry of taking color and putting it into a specific order in a way that evokes mystery and exploration in all of us. And I think that's where you can do that when you look at a caterpillar, like the animal, or a caterpillar, the bulldozer, because it's visually and aesthetically beautiful in how it's arranged, or like modern engineering. But anyways, the mantis shrimp is, I guess it'll kick us off, but the mantis shrimp is, if listeners don't know what it is, go look it up. But it's this little shrimp that like packs a punch. It literally punches its like clams and animals. And so it's this like feisty little bugger. But it looks like a rainbow. And the fun part of the mantis shrimp is that it's like on the electromagnetic spectrum for seeing, I think we can see 7 or 8. I'm sure I'll get some correction by someone from it, but we have a limited number of colors that we can see. But the electromagnetic spectrum, actually technically every wave or radio wave creates color in some way. It's part of how light works. And the mantis shrimp, I think, can see up to 18 different colors. And so it's just that reminder. It's like, oh my gosh, there's actually animals in creation that can see more color than we can. Just trying to imagine like a mantis shrimp looking at the Mona Lisa and like, finding the beauty in the Mona Lisa because of the depth of color it can see. But I think what that can teach us is when engaging with light and what our eyes see, we can have a deep appreciation for like color theory and color scheming, but how they actually work together and complement one another. And that in the beginning there was light, and light shines on the earth, and color and comes forth from God. And so these are actually things that are meant to be enjoyed, and actually can work together in tandem for both creating beauty and observing beauty at the same time.
Absolutely. Obviously, Genesis 1:1 comes to mind. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And that, as Christians, is sort of our roadmap for understanding, or a lens that we see the world. Hey, lens, get it? You're seeing sight. Yeah. And
we're allowed to have fun here too.
And with that said, with lenses and whatnot, we're born into this world, and we're here in the mid 2020s, this new millennium, and we have a world lens. Like, that's just kind of our default. We grow up in this world. We learn the things of this world, and then you become a believer. You become a Christian, and you have the Word of God in front of you, and it's a new lens to see the world from the Bible. And so we sort of start there, right? With, let there be light, and God spoke and it was. And how does that inform going to the Guggenheim or going to some local art, when we see these works of art and these kaleidoscopes of color with our eyes, particularly?
Yeah, it shapes it. And I think John Lennox, who's a mathematician, scientist, philosopher, he actually talks about science being the median at which we explore how creation works. And that science actually not only flourishes when God is present in the conversation, but is present and active and gives purpose to the science too. We don't need to get into worldviews too much, but he talks about how science and faith actually can really work in tandem and strengthen each other even. And the freedom of, exploring beauty is actually enjoying the sciences and like looking at through a telescope of like what the different planets look like, and not just, and I'm getting excited because it's like there's a beauty of exploring the stars and how they're crafted and woven together and how gravity works. And I think we visually see that. And there's also the unseen portion that we can measure with mathematics and science and physics. But even with what we can see, there's beauty in that. And again, it's that thing we say over and over again, like it's that you understand some of how it works because you visually can see it. And yet there's a mystery to it on that other end that's meant to be enjoyed. Like, I don't understand fully how this works. And it's right in the center of those two things is where the beauty is found. There's this rich mystery that leads you to wonder. And actually, I do understand some of this because I'm encountering it physically by looking at it. And I think the science encourages us to keep exploring, to keep finding that beauty, to go, this doesn't make sense to me, so I want to go explore it. And then some of the satisfaction of, I do understand it. It does make sense, the aha moment. And there's beauty in both, but beauty is found in both of those things working in tandem together.
I think we often mistake magic for mystery. And it's often said that once you learn how a thing works, the magic's gone. And there's a lot of, as a musician, there's a lot of other musicians that refuse to maybe learn music theory or how a chord works or how function together, these chords function together, harmony, whatever. They refuse to learn that because it will take away the magic of music. And I think they really mean the mystery, the unknown. When you have a mystery, you want to know why x plus z at y equals z or something like that, or what's the y component? I got z and I got x. What's y? What's in the middle? And I think we often, when we say magic, we really mean mystery. We don't know why a thing results in another. Mm-hmm. Perhaps, maybe.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I mean, a lot of people, once they figure it out, it's like, well, it's no longer a novelty.
Right.
But I think in science and in sight and seeing something, it's the exploration that makes it fun. And if you think you figured something out, that means you've stopped searching and trying to take time to think of the things that don't make sense to you. And everywhere you look, there's mystery.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
Like we still don't know how our bodies work in a lot of ways.
Right.
Maybe here's the question I want to ask is, what are some of the mysteries that you see in your day-to-day life right now?
Well, there are days I don't understand why my TV works. and then you think about it and it's like, well, what is a TV these days? They are pixels jam-packed together. And what are pixels? They are light emitters, LED, emitters that emit light in such a sophisticated, incredibly amazing way. It's a mystery to us non-technically savvy folks. But what we're seeing is a square illuminating light. And in that way, it reminds us of God's design. That light was meant to be beautiful originally. And you can understand how the sun works. It's fusion, hydrogen, I think, very hot. But also, that doesn't necessarily answer why. And I think it's such a wonderful gift of God has given us the ability to question why for anything. And that answer might be different to different people. But that's where the mystery is. Like, we can understand the sun all day, but there's still a certain mystery of like, why is the sun? How can it just be there and give us warmth, give us survival, give us nutrients, but then help us thrive and grow and and then be our source of hope, and then affect us emotionally, right? Like you grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Seasonal depression is a very real thing. There's no sun. You're depraved of the sun. You poor creatures. And then here in Texas, we get nothing but sun. It's the complete opposite. We get no rain and no clouds. We get nothing but sun. And so you see that affect our chemistry and affect our happiness, so to speak, or at least our feel good emotions. Happiness is a whole nother topic, blessedness, whatever. So I think, yeah, that's what's a mystery to me is like, you kind of have to create your own mysteries, right? That you get old enough that you start to begin to understand how the world works around you. And we go back to a common thread in our conversations is curiosity. As we grow older, we have a propensity to stop being curious because we know enough. But then, there's the mantra, curiosity killed the cat.
Sure. Yeah. There's ways
yeah.
you can
Yeah.
do that. And,
Yeah.
I mean, where I live, the church I go to, I get to be around a lot of senior adults, and it's just, they go about their lives. How are you doing? How are things going? And, what's God up to? But the second I got engaged, it was like they came back to life. And I've been like pondering that. And actually, this is where I've been finding some beauty in my season of life of like, why is it that the older generation is so thrilled about a marriage? And some of it is they know how exciting things get in a marriage, or knowing that a marriage can create something new. And how transformative it is. And it's like they're coming around and celebrating what God has done, but they are also in many ways getting to experience that newness and that freshness again. And some have told me that, like one of the widows I meet with, she was like, it's new and fresh knowing that you are in a relationship, and how's it going, and how life-giving is it? And they talk about the hard things too, and the stretching, but it's like the newness of it is invigorating for them. And so they're getting to enjoy that firsthand. And so they get to observe that. And so I'm finding the beauty in, like sharing my relationship with the older generation actually blesses them. And they're getting able to see different forms of light.
Yeah. And if I could even stretch it further, they're sort of bearing witness to what's going on in your life. They're experiencing it with you and how you're changing it. And I'm thinking of those that are listening to this podcast and maybe not seeing the video version of this, but then there's also the visually impaired, those that can't necessarily see light. Maybe they're completely blind or maybe legally blind, but then there's something about being physically present with people, that you're still bearing witness. And to the blind men that Jesus healed, that he restored their sight. But then for even those among us that are blind today and maybe stay blind, that they can still do life with other folks and bear witness to their life, that someone can go to your wedding, not see what has happened, but they are still a witness to what happened, maybe from other faculties, but connecting sight with witness, that like you are experiencing it,
Well, I think, to also thinking about sight, not just visual sight, and we're talking a lot about colors, and but in the Greek word knowledge, there's the logos, which is the word, which is information, and the other one is oidos, which in Greek means information that's more like technical, and then there's the other one called gnosko, and that's actually meant, it literally means relational knowledge gleaned through experience. And so to understand or to know that this water is hot actually is a form of gnosko, like you're encountering it, versus just I'm giving you information, like the sign is yellow, versus, hey, I encounter you or I encounter someone else, and that's through relational knowledge that you're encountering. And that's where I think for those of us who are who are listening who can see, there's actually things to learn from the blind or deaf community, as well. Just like the freedom that comes from cultures that get built. I'm just thinking of this one example of a friend of mine. She could sign, and she said one thing that's really common in the deaf community is if someone gains weight, it'll be one of the first things they actually mention when they encounter each other. They'll say like, "Oh, it's good to see you again," but they'll sign it out as they're talking with one another. But like, "Oh, you've gained weight," and it's a visual. It's a way of actually just saying, "I see you. I see that you've changed. I'm acknowledging it." And I would never dare say that to any of my buddies. Well, maybe my close friends, but like I wouldn't say that to most people in and around me. But how that visually that can change things, or the person who's deaf but can't see, there's things that we can learn from them. And I think that's why Helen Keller is such a prolific person to learn from, with, and look up to, because she's blind, deaf, and mute, and
Yeah.
yet she bore witness to the world
Right.
as well.
That relational information, and that's why God gave us our faculties, whatever they may be, that we're meant to be together in community. So
Yeah, and learning from one another. And so we have other episodes about talking about sound and music, where we can hit some of that. But what are some of the other areas that we can find beauty with our senses, but particularly with like light and sight in mind?
well, I am a lay photographer or a lay artist. I am not by any means a professional, and that's my perspective.
But we can change that. We can get you paid for it at some point. Is that what you can say?
I'm an amateur. I'm a lover of, I'm a amateur, I love photography, but grain of salt, but I think, that's what's so beautiful about their work, is that they see the same things that we do every day, but in a different way, they capture that. I'm sure when photography came around, lots of folks were saying, "Oh, painting's dead," but it's not. There are still painters painting there, and then there's still photographers photographing, and they're two disparate, and we have made them separate. And so I think maybe just trying to look at things differently, on your commute, on your walk. And it's a deliberate choice, right? Like just like meditation, you have a moment and you're like, okay, I'm gonna take these 10 seconds and just be quiet and just listen and choose that. It's very difficult to switch that, but it's a deliberate choice. And I think opening your eyes to the world around you, and we've talked about foregoing the future, ignoring the past temporarily, at least, to live in the moment. And I think it's to follow that follows suit.
Yeah, and that captures, really even the name of the podcast is like beholding beauty. And we've mentioned in other videos, but that I'm taking hold of beauty, but also knowing there's something about beauty that's going to remain a mystery. Yeah. And so trying to capture it, but not encapsulate it.
There's this artist, James Turrell, that I wanted to mention, and he specializes in light, particularly. Like that's his medium for art. It's not painting, drawing, or whatnot, and it's using light in new and creative ways and seeing in different ways. And you can look up his work on Google, and particularly he's really good about architectural light and how light moves through a space. And one of our artists at our church, Abby Rainey, that's one of her kind of specialties is capturing those moments of mundanity, ordinary things in extraordinary ways. And I think she just looks around her apartment room, one of her bedroom in her apartment, or her studio in her apartment, and sees how the sun setting interacts with the room around her. And
Think about that.
right.
But it's like if I'm in a relationship with someone like her, I can start thinking.
Right. Yeah. And so how does sun pass through your window? How does it interact with the space and that could be applied to your workplace too. I work in a very corporate, ritzy office, and the windows are from floor to ceiling. And these days in the wintertime, the sun sets early and the sun rises late. And I have the opportunity to see how the sun interacts as it rises and sets. Less so in the summer. Some, by the time most of us wake up, the sun's already been risen for 2 hours. But it's things like that. Just seeing how nature reacts around your space.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what how light interacts with something changes it. And that's like the light of Christ. And we use it metaphorically and spiritually all the time. But that light, how it shows up or is illuminating, changes the environment, and that we can find that in our physical spaces, we can find that in our souls, we can find that in our hearts as we go about. And so it's just really powerful to be reminded of that. I think the other thing I'd want to mention before we wrap up is the reminder to ask other people, where do you see beauty in this subject? So as we're talking and going throughout different episodes and asking that question, how does light impact what you see as beautiful, or where are you seeing beauty in the world? Like for me, I'm curious about the mantis shrimp, or for some others, it's how light interacts with the environment architecturally from Terrell, who you're talking about. And so, but asking, just like making that a question you ask in your relationships, like where do you find beauty in light, and what are some physical things that you've seen in your life that have been beautiful recently? It's just like stimulating questions to ask people in your life. So, well, very good.
Think we can wrap up there?
Yeah, let's wrap up there.
Okay. And cut. It's only 3:45. You can do another one.
You tried another one. Ooh, yeah, baby. Oh, yes.
What?
My
Heart rate's 55?
That's average. My heart rate's 71 right now.
Okay.
But that's average the last week.
Nice.
I've been 52 the last 2 nights.
Oh, good. As low as 52?
Yeah.
Are you ready to be mad at me? Mine gets down to 44.
Ooh.
Okay, question. Who's recording? Okay, you're recording and it's 23 minutes. Hallelujah, we got light. All the way through.
At least we can see
For all